Welcome to the Image Profile Report. I'm your host, Herb Glenn. Contemporary music has taken its place in the dynamics of what art is and how it institutionalizes the ability for us to have entertainment that we enjoy. There are a number of different genres that exist, and in most cases, how they emulate it was from a style that we most often call old school. One of those particular ideas in terms of what old school should be emulates from how the standards are created through the ages. And as years go by, music in itself never gets old. One of the music lifestyles that has really become now a part of the relationships of entertainment and a good time in the Newark community is jazz. Jazz has been a mainstay here. In most cases, a lot of its introduction and history emulated out of the nightclubs and in most cases now churches in relationship to it becoming a popular opportunity for people to have to enjoy. I'm here now with my guest, Miss Carrie Jackson, who has performed this music called jazz for over 25 years and is highly regarded as an entrepreneur, entertainer, a vocal teacher, yada, 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 yada. She has one of the most eloquent voices of our time and has been recognized by many artists that have been able to provide an enriching history of what this particular class of music really provides for the listening audience. We're very happy to have her here. Carrie, you're so talented.
Hi, how are you, Herb? Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I'm very happy about the opportunity to be able to talk to you in this particular setting because you know, we have been able to grow and build a strong relationship together in so many ways. As you know, I'm a history buff and I'm very adamant about wanting to seek out the true essence of different cultures. Jazz is an art form that has been very instrumental in influencing my lifestyle, and I'm sure that there are others that are watching today that have a passion for its unique quality and its cultural heritage. Why don't you share with us what started you in the involvement of being a jazz artist?
Well, I'm a product of Newark. I grew up in Newark, and my parents very early on listened to jazz. They listened to Newark's own Sarah Vaughan, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Nat King Cole. Music comes out of the music of the South. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're going to talk about jazz, you're talking about blues. You're also talking about gospel. So if I were to do a history program, a Black history program, it would be about jazz. If you take jazz and the drums, you can take it all the way back to Africa. And going back to Africa, if you've ever listened to drums, drums mean a sign of danger. It could be a birth. It could be a wedding. So you're talking about drums, you're talking about syncopation. When you talk about jazz, you're talking about improvisation. Jazz is not Western European music. For example, if you have a sheet of music, you're going to play it exactly the way it is. But with jazz, you can bend the notes, you can stretch the music, you can come in off the beat, you can play behind the beat. It's the birth of jazz, it's the birth of blues. Blues is a part of R&B. R&B is what kids call today hip hop and rap. But before there was hip hop and rap, there was bebop.
The personalization of the art form is one of the many opportunities that one who is an artist would have to be able to cultivate it and create it as their own. You've done many projects. In fact, you mentioned Sarah Vaughan. You have a project right now that really gives a tribute to her and her music, but you don't sound anywhere near like Sarah Vaughan. You have now created your own style, something what Whitney did when Whitney took one of the songs that were classically sung by another artist and personalized it and made it her own. The difference between R&B and jazz, in most cases, is the live band effect. How does that give a tremendous type of condition of being able to show that it is more of a potential in terms of quality and professionalism than the bebop or the rapper who samples off music?
Well, when you're talking about individual singing and style, we don't come into the world with a particular style. You have a God-given talent, so you want to expand on that talent. And for me, growing up listening to Sarah Vaughan and listening to Ella Fitzgerald and listening to their styles, over the years you develop one of your own. You don't want to imitate. You want to take what they have, a little bit of what they have, and add a style that is uniquely your own. So for me, growing up in Newark, singing in the children's choir at the age of 5, so I listened to a lot of gospel. I sang in the Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Newark. I sang in St. John's Baptist Church as a young adult. I sang in St. John's Unified Free Will Baptist Church. I went on the WWRL Gospel Radio Tour. It's the music, it's a feeling, it's a passion. When you hear the music, it's a part of you. It's a part of our culture. So I try to cultivate that, and in listening to music, you hear certain nuances, and you hear certain things that are so much a part of you, you internalize it. Mm-hmm. And singers are storytellers. You know, we're as much a storyteller as a writer of a book or a poet. Because when you're singing in front of a live audience, you want them to feel what you're feeling. You want them to feel the love. You want them to feel the passion. And if there's pain, I mean, you never know, a song that you may do may touch somebody. At the end of the night, they could say, you know, that song that you sang, my mother sang to me as a child. But for me, the first song that I remember singing was Misty. Mm-hmm. And that was Sarah Vaughan. Mm-hmm. And Earl Gardner, you know, just playing it. And it did something to me. And I kind of like knew at the age of 5 or 6 that I was going to be a singer.
Do you think the idea of how the relationship of personalizing the songs is what gives that unique feeling that now has made it your mainstay?
Well, I think whenever you do a song in order to captivate your audience and to hold your own interest, you have to select the song and material and build a repertoire on what is important to you. I carefully select music when I'm doing an album. Of course, I always consider my audience in terms of their likes and their dislikes, but it has to be something that is my own. There's a certain feeling. And in selecting musicians, it's the same thing. You develop a relationship with musicians. You develop a camaraderie. You instantaneously know that a particular piano player is going to accompany you. He's going to know those licks. He's going to know your every move. Whether it's a bass player, piano player, drummer, you develop a family. And you've cultivated that over the years. I remember when I was a novice, I didn't have that experience, say, 25 years ago. But over the years, you listen to musicians and you listen to their sounds, a bass player and a drummer, and then you say, this is what I want. This is the kind of music that I want to play, and this is what I want to portray to the people.
Maturing to that level is an awesome task. And obviously enough, you have been very helpful in sharing those learning experiences with others. In building that repertoire, why would an individual find it necessary to develop something that is not going to be a complicated task for a musician to learn how to pick up?
Well, singers are musicians, just like a piano player or a bass player. Just because we don't carry a horn on our back, or because we don't sit down at a piano, we are musicians because we hear things. You know, you may have perfect pitch. You will be able to differentiate between one note and another, and you want to remain on key. If you are a piano player, it's to your advantage as a singer because you can play these melodies yourself. If not, then you sit down with someone who is suitable and able to play the music, and you learn from that. You learn the notes, you learn the melody. And then once you learn that music, you're at an advantage because then you can expand on it. You know, you can internalize it and you can make it your own.
Will the expectations of an individual who would like to get involved with being a performer be adequate to learn music?
I think anyone has the capability of learning. Everyone has a voice. It comes in is how hard do you want it? How much do you want it? What is it that you want to do? Me personally, I'd rather work with live musicians as opposed to working with tape music, because if you're working with tape music, and I don't knock it, you are very much locked in to that particular song, the way it's being played. The advantage of working for me, of working with live musicians, is that I can start where I want. Of course, music has a certain format. You all start in the same place and you probably all end in the same place. But in the format of that tune, we are all players working towards a common goal of making this music something that is beautiful for the listening person to enjoy. And for me, being able to bend the notes, taking a ballad, making a ballad a bossa nova, making a bossa nova a blues, making a blues a Latin tune, a ballad. You have that ability within the confines of those tunes to do that, and you learn that from listening. I mean, I've been told I have big ears. I don't mean ears like this. I mean ears in terms of what you hear. And I remember some of my most momentous times came from listening to drummers, listening to syncopation. Drummers and the bass players are the ones that keep the time. The piano player is playing the melody. But it's up to the singer to know the melody, because a piano player just might be playing the chords. He's playing underneath the singer. So the singer needs to know the form of the tune and needs to know the melody. And then you start to have fun with it. You can embrace it and you can just do so many. The sky is the limit in terms of what you do with it.
And when you think about it from the point that you're making, and obviously we want to talk a little bit about your voice project, the Jazz Vocal Collective, is that understanding the difference between the chord and the melody can give you that inspiration of being an identity of your own.
Exactly.
You can create your own music once you understand the relationship of how the musician is going to complement you.
Well, so you always want a musician to have the ability to accompany you, not necessarily to follow you. It's you have to know as a singer where you're going with it. You have to know the music, and the musicians, as an accompanist, will complement what you do. You don't want to rely on a musician solely. For example, I'm not going to just follow the musician in terms of what he's playing. I want him to play with me. We are a team. And to that extent, we begin to know each other's music. A certain look, a certain nuance, something in the music. But as a singer, we should really hone our skills, know the music, know the song, know the lyrics, know what key you're in. You know, you don't want to get out there and say, for example, you're at a jam session and everybody is jamming and having a good time, and a singer may get up and they say, well, what tune do you want to do? Well, I think I want to hum a few bars. Well, obviously, we don't know what key we're going into. So there's some things that you want to do as a prerequisite for going out there. You want to make sure you know what key you're in. You want to make sure that you count it off. You know, you just say 1, 2, 3, 4. Because if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and the band is going, you know, that's not really what I meant.
That's harder than most of the time.
Yeah, because
people
you know,
get really stuck.
It could be a train wreck at that point. You know, you don't want
a train wreck. is very predominant. Let me ask you this question. As an African American woman and being part of the industry, you created your own projects, you do your own packaging, you're your own record company. What are the obstacles?
Well, I'll tell you, back in 95 and 94, a lot of singers and musicians are looking for that one big break where that major record label company is just going to come down from the skies and scoop you up. Jazz is something that it's ingrained in our culture, but sometimes it can be a hard sell if you're not singing contemporary pop music. And I tend to stay with the jazz and the blues and the gospel because that's where I'm coming from and that's what I enjoy the most. But coming from that vein, I decided very early on, is, for example, they might say, well, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Let's be real. He didn't discover it as it was already here.
Mm-hmm. What you
Now,
think?
I say that because for me, I decided back in the 90s that I was going to have my own record label and I was going to become incorporated and I was going to have the ability to assist other singers to come in and record. Having the ability to not necessarily have them under my record label, but have them to go out and do a CD or an album, because people don't really take you serious until you do that. And so in 95 and 96, working with Duke Anderson, working with a lot of musicians that helped me. He was my mentor. That helped me along the way. So I was able to put out that first CD. I got behind the scenes. I learned what I needed to do in terms of selecting musicians, in terms of going into the studio, the whole process of mechanical licensing, because there's so many things behind the scene production. And so I did that. And then a couple of years later, I produced my second CD. I produced other CDs. And my latest CD I put out in September of 2013. I'm really proud of it because it's a tribute to one of Newark's own.
Right.
I mean, Sarah Vaughan was born in Newark. She was an international star. I think she started at, I can't remember the church off the top of my head, but it was in Newark. And she never forgot Newark. And we never forgot her. So this new album is called Carrie Jackson, a tribute to Sarah Vaughan, Newark's own. And it has a lot of her standard tunes. It has Misty on there, and Tenderly, and Sassy's Blues, and It Was One of Those Things. And it's just an accomplishment that I'm really proud of. I love the musicians that are on it, and we carefully selected the music. And you can also go on my website and get it. Carrie Jackson, www.cjayrecords.com or cdbaby.com or iTunes or whatever, but you can find me either way.
And that's basically because a lot of times nowadays it's very difficult to market an actual tangible product. Everything is digital. A lot of times people have to be able to get what they want. I'm looking for some digital equipment, and none of the stores are selling it except online.
Yeah.
You know, we have to download a number of different things, and you're there, YouTube, the projects that you're working on, in particular, what you're doing every Thursdays in Westfield, and the Sunday events that are going on are a real passion to me as well. Let's talk about what we do at Trumpets.
Well, for the past couple of years, Trumpets is a jazz club that's located in Montclair. And for the past year, I've been doing a vocal concert series where I come in and I bring in singers, and they perform with live musicians. They invite their fan base.
And this project is pretty much in conjunction with the Jazz Vocal Collective.
Pretty much,
Okay.
because for the past 6 years, I am the vocal coach for the Jazz Vocal Collective, which is a workshop for singers. And basically what we do is we delve into the singer's ability, increasing their repertoire, teaching them, along with Bob D. Benedette, who is my musical director and piano teacher. The singers come in, they learn their repertoire, they learn their keys. We go into breathing, we go into scales, we go into selecting music, we go into stage fright. If they have any questions about how to record, how to get that gig, how to get that foot in that door, how to approach club owners, how to approach people who are in booking and management. And you have to have a certain tenacity for that. You have to have the ability for not taking no for an answer. I mean, me, I'm like that bad penny that keeps popping up. Because I'll come in with my materials and I'll sit down and say, look, I can present this. I have a fan base. I have social media. I have the ability to send out emails and flyers and all of those things. Press releases are very important.
Well, I'm very happy to be a part of the Jazz Vocal Collective.
And we're glad to have you.
And, really getting an opportunity to take away a lot of those fears that I had in regard to wanting to get involved with expressing my feelings in music. And you've been very helpful in that,
Well,
and I really
thank you.
appreciate it. We're going to look forward to doing some more projects with you. For those of you who are watching, there are a number of events that are going to be going on. Dothan's Place. You're going
Place
to be
in Newark,
performing in March of
Yes.
next year. And we're doing a number of different projects throughout Newark, New Jersey, and particularly as I travel with you to New York. So you're getting around, and you've been around for quite some time. We're very happy to be a part of what you offer to the history of jazz, and we want to look forward to continuing to support your efforts.
Well, I thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunities that you've given me as well.
We want to thank you for being here. If there's any information that someone may need about you, I'm sure we'll be able to display it and give an opportunity for them to link to you, Carrie Jackson, on your website, and also on We Care Partners, our website, so that we can be able to establish another opportunity for the ability to keep the message about music live. And jazz is one music genre that it needs to continue to have a lot of support, because it has a profound history, and a lot of our lifestyles, a lot of our culture emulated from the music that spawned out of that particular type of entertainment. We want to continue to invite you to be a part of our listening audience. You could always be able to find a number of different activities that are going on, especially with Carrie Jackson, by listening to WBGO. How about that?
Great radio station. I'm a member of WBGO as well.
And we have a lot of friends that are there. We want to continue to support their effort as well. Well, Carrie, thank you very much for participating with me in this segment. We want to make sure that we have another opportunity to do it, as we're working on a documentary together. And we want to make sure that we'll establish that kind of a relationship as we move forward.
Well, Herb Glenn, thank you so much, and I appreciate being here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate you. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you again.
One of those bells that now and then rings, just one of those things. It was just one of those nights, just one of those fabulous flights, a trip to the moon on gossamer wings, just one of those things. If we thought of it by the end of it, when we started painting the town, we'd have been aware